All right, Coach, we're being socially responsible and meeting distantly here, but excited not to, and excited to meet you in person. And should have been for league play, but can't control what we can't control. So here we are. Meanwhile, you guys and you as an assistant coach, but also recruiting coordinator, let's just hop right into it. You've had a heck of a start here in less than a year on the Palouse, with 4 of the top 10 in-state high school baseball players committed and signed to come to be Cougs.
Yeah, we're really excited about our first recruiting class here, and really excited to to be able to get a lot of the better players from in the state of Washington to kind of believe in what we're doing. And we've had an outstanding amount of support from our administration, and with the BTO project coming in, the $10 million facility with the locker room and the weight room and all the rest. It's we really have something to sell. We have a proud history and a proud tradition here. And we're just telling the story. We're telling the story of the program, and where the program's been and where we are now and where we're currently going. And it's pretty believable at the moment. We've been able to attract some really good players so far.
How specific can you get about this class? Who do you think you'd like to touch on to maybe introduce a little bit early to fans here, if it's not too premature?
Well, I guess specifically we can talk about just the local kids. And I hate to leave anybody out, but it's a rather large recruiting class, and again, there's a ton of good players in this class, and we like each and every one of them. But just to get the local guys fired up, in the state of Washington, we have Kyle Russell. He's a shortstop. Duke Brotherton, right-handed pitcher. Cooper Barnum, who's a right-handed pitcher as well. He's the brother of Brody Barnum, current Coug. And we have Tyler Hoft, another right-handed pitcher. All 4 of those guys are, depending on what publication, but they're kind of ranked inside the top 10 in the state of Washington. So, and again, there's a lot of good players from a lot of states. We had a very wide net. We casted a wide net in the first class, and there's a lot of guys that are going to make a huge impact immediately. But just for the locals, the guys that have probably been here before and played here in Palouse Summer Series and things of that nature, that's some local guys that some Cougs can get fired up about.
You must have been as excited as anybody with your role in particular with the Back to Omaha project and all that we've seen now. If you're following Coach Green at all on social media, you could see the updates and Cougar baseball handle as well. It's really coming together.
Right, and it's incredible just in my position as a part of the program. It's incredible to just be able to go out and sell that thing every day. Like I said before, we have outstanding leadership here. We have an outstanding coaching staff. Coach Green's one of the best in the business. Obviously. Good friend of mine as well, and the BTO. There's just so many things. The family atmosphere, what it means to be a Coug. There's so many things to sell here, and I'm just fortunate to be a part of it. And I love going to work every day.
Did you get hooked up with Coach Green in Kentucky?
Yeah, I think Coach Green and I probably met 10, 12 years ago. He was an assistant at the University of Kentucky. He came over from UCLA, and I was from Kentucky, born and raised in Louisville, or about an hour outside. And at the time, I was working at an NAIA school in Central Kentucky, and knew I wanted to coach, knew that I wanted to do it at the highest level I could do it at. And back then, you went around in the summertime, and you worked all the camps. At bigger programs and bigger schools that you could, and you tried to put yourself in front of, people that you aspired to be like, and you tried to do it to prove to them that you were willing to work and sacrifice and put in the time to coach at the level you said you wanted to coach at. So anyway, I was doing that and working some camps, and I bumped into Coach Green at the University of Kentucky summer camp. And we kind of hit it off immediately. Obviously, an interest in infield play and hitting, and just started to have all those conversations and kind of break it down. And then next thing you know, our wives get together, and and then here we are 12 years later in Pullman, Washington. So that's a pretty cool story, to say the least. But yeah, very fortunate.
So you're kind of getting into things now in the pack. You know, you've come together now with this staff, and there's been this pause put on everything. What has that meant for recruiting? You were able to do a good bit of it prior to all this. What's the schedule like? What are the adjustments that you need to make?
Well, recruiting hasn't stopped. It's just changed. It's much different. Um, but as far as, our program here, it's, I've tried to stay in a good routine. You get up every day and shower and get my coffee, and then you're on the phone and you're talking to high school coaches or scouts or kids or whatever it may be. I think we've been able to get a few commitments here over the last probably 4 or 5 commitments in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and so obviously you want to put an emphasis on being able to get out and see players play as much as you can. And for us, this has just been an opportunity to maybe follow up on some kids that we'd seen play previously back in the fall before the quiet period went into effect. And then we were able to maybe follow up with them, when COVID-19, kind of shut everything down, and, get some recent video and some things of that nature that we've been able to move forward with.
When I was speaking with Coach Green, a few weeks back now, maybe it wasn't even that long. I don't know. It feels like an eternity. But when we were talking, that was the day it was announced about what they're going to do with the seniors for spring sports and the additional year. What do you think of that in terms of putting the class together? Did it affect anything?
Well, fortunately for us, it didn't affect us a lot. Obviously, the seniors that decide to return, they're not going to count against your roster limits or your scholarship limits or things of that nature. When the season was halted, there in March, we only had 2 seniors that were currently on the team, AJ Block being one of them and Owen Leonard being the other. So for us, from a roster management standpoint, should those guys decide to move on into professional baseball, or should they decide to return to Washington State, it won't have a great impact on us, just from the way the roster looks. And we can most certainly accommodate those guys should they decide to do that.
When will you know? When will everybody know? When does all this get settled? Do we even know the date of that?
Yeah, I think the NCAA Division I Council, I think, is set to vote on May 20th. I believe that's right. It's May 20th is, I believe, and they're voting on what to do with the roster. We have a 35-man roster currently. It's Division I baseball across the board. And they're going to discuss maybe expanding it or eliminating it for the 2020-21 year, and then also doing something with potentially expanding the number of people that we can have on scholarship. Currently, you're allowed to have 27 people on scholarship, and that number might be bumped up to 30 or 32 or something like that, just to try to find a way to accommodate more people with what we're dealing with, with COVID-19. And the draft has been reduced to 5, maybe 10 rounds at the most, reduced from 40 down to 5 or 10. You got seniors coming back, so you got a little bit of a log jam in regards to numbers with the way the current roster format is. So I think they're just looking at ways to accommodate more people during this time.
Strange times. Got to be super flexible. Thank you for this time. Stay safe and be well. And I'm excited to see it all come together. I guess we'll know in June and then have a sense of what it's all going to be like next year. Yeah,
for sure. We're really excited. Obviously this is a really important time for everybody, and it's a good opportunity for everybody to spend some time with the family and do a lot of things that you don't normally get to do. And so we're really excited to do that, but we'll be excited to get back to work whenever they tell us that we can, and we'll be ready.
Yes, sir. You bet. Go Cougs. Thanks for the time.
Okay. Go Cougs. Thank you.